So, you want to be a contractor. Ever wonder what it takes to become a contractor? The journey they go on to get where they are now, or the crazy things they see and hear on the job site? Well, you're in the right spot. Welcome to So You Want to Be a Contractor, the podcast. Join your host, Mike Fisher, as he talks to owners of construction companies from all over about how they got started, how they run their business, and some of the craziest stories they've experienced on their job sites. And now, your host, Mike Fisher.
Welcome to So You Want to Be a Contractor. This is episode number 23. My name is Mike Fisher. Our guest today, Greg Westmoreland from Westmoreland Builders, the CEO out there in Southlake, Texas. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mike.
I appreciate you taking the time here and joining us. We appreciate it. So we get all these started by your story. Let's hear your story. How did you get into this, and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, that's a broad
I know it's
question.
a loaded question. Yeah, no, it's sometimes we spend 45 minutes just on this question, which is perfectly okay. So just so you know,
Okay.
we want it all.
I'll start out with what someone told me one time early on is your career picks you eventually. So I'm going to start. The summary of it is construction picked me. I've always been, even as a teenager, fixing things, building things, that was just, I always enjoyed it. And that's what I spent a lot of time doing, but went to school. I went to Texas A&M University, and I have an engineering degree. Even though they have a construction degree in a construction department, I for some reason didn't pursue it. My high school guidance counselor, maybe we'll fault her. But so I graduated and I went to work for a large engineering construction company called Brown and Root. They're in Houston. They've since been bought, sold. I think they're Kellogg Brown and Root now. And I was working in their office doing engineering stuff, things like that. And a opportunity came up to go on a construction site. And, I said, you know what? I think I can do that. So I volunteered and packed my bags from Houston, Texas. And my wife and I moved to Northern Virginia and worked on a construction project there. And I just kept volunteering. And then we went to California and worked on a project, in Florida and worked on a project.
Hopefully you're being paid for these volunteer jobs, right?
Yes. Yeah, you didn't get a raise every time you volunteered, but eventually it did start paying off. So before I knew it, I was full construction, no real engineering, anymore. And just kept going my construction career after that. Left Brown and Root at one point when we were in Florida, and moved back to Texas, which is where we're from. And my wife is from the Dallas area. So we came back to here and bounced around with a few other construction companies here and there, got moved again, back and forth. But about 15 years ago, left the company I was with and was doing some consulting work in construction still. And some old clients called and said, if you want to keep going, put your team back together, you can do this on your own. So took a leap of faith and started Westmoreland Builders, and that was 15 years ago. And now we work coast to coast and different clients, and we're in retail, we're in quick serve restaurants, multifamily, light industrial, hospitality, convenience stores,
a little bit of everything,
just all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it's taken a long time to build it. Some ups and downs, with the economy. I'd like to say I'm unique, but I'm not that unique to where the tide rises all boats. So when the economy's good, I'm doing great. When it goes down, I try to not hit the bottom with everyone else, but it's not that easy sometimes. So that's the short or the long version of my story of how I ended up in construction. It chose me, and I just stuck with it. And sometimes I think I'm good at it. Sometimes
so
not.
Going back to when you made that decision to go from the office as an engineer to out in the field, what was your role out in the field? What were you I guess, asked to do, or what did you volunteer to do? And what was your role out there in the field when you were on those sites?
Wow. Well, my first role, that is a good story. I was, they needed someone to run the night shift on a highway job just out of Washington,
Sounds
D.C.
safe.
It wasn't. So what I would do was I would come in around 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we would blast through rock through these mountains where we were going to build this highway. And then at night, these big trucks would come and load it out. So I was in charge of the blasting and the haul out crew for a long winter in Northern Virginia. Yeah, I'd seen rocks fly up in the air and land on sheds. And that was my other part. I was congenial enough. It's like, oh, Greg, go talk to that homeowner. We just destroyed their shed. I was like, okay. So I'd go up and do that. And as that part finished, then I started, getting more stuff. It's like, okay, Greg, can you be over this crew? And, it was an asphalt crew. It was putting up guardrail. It was I had an engineering degree, so I could understand most things. It's like, Greg, we need traffic signals put up. Can you figure out what this diagram is and make these things work? So I just kept doing that kind of stuff. It turns out, I sometimes to a detriment, but I ended up being the last person on the project because I just kept volunteering. And as I looked away, people were leaving and going to other projects. So I finished that one up, closed it down, and they sent me to California outside Los Angeles on a terminal island. If you've ever been there.
Yes, I'm right there. Yeah, in Long Beach,
All
right?
right.
Yeah.
It was a big project, and it was the same thing. I was the third person on site on the project, and it was a couple of years. And on that one, I did everything from run the survey crew to the testing crew. I was a paint foreman for a while. I was over lifting plans for a while, inspected welds, and same thing. I just kept volunteering, and finally I looked around and I was the last one there. So
Well, it sounds like
disconnected
a lot
the
of these roles are from a leadership standpoint, right? I mean, not necessarily that you knew all these trades, more that you were just managing and making sure that things were efficient. I mean, was leadership part of who you were in the past? Was it a learned thing, or
You
where?
know, I've that's another good question. Yes, I've always been a leader. Um, I'm going to say, I didn't want to be. Mostly an introvert, so I never really volunteered to be the leader. I volunteered just to do things more as a servant leader. But you end up, if you have leadership, it comes out in you. So, and I did a podcast a few weeks ago on that same question of leadership, and every situation I've been in from college on, you end up eventually being the leader. Now, I'll let other people lead, if they want to and will, but if it fails, I'll step up and do it. So, but I think to answer that question, yes, I think the people that kept moving me into the different positions saw the leadership in me, even when I didn't see it in myself, that I could manage my way through people. And then you're managing welders and you're managing painters, so it's not the easiest thing to do to get,
Yep.
motivate people to do what you need them to do when the work is messy, smelly, hot, and uncomfortable. So I think you're onto something there, that I was really being promoted up through as a leader, not because I knew how to paint, because I didn't, or knew how to weld, because I barely can. But yes, I think that's a big part of it. And that's what, I do more of now, is
Right.
try to lead people, to even clients and everyone else on a project, to get going what's supposed to be going. And that's really what I've been doing the last 15 years.
Kind of where I was going to roll with that, right? Is rolling into something of your own. You, like you said, you may not be the best painter or the best welder or know how to do those things, but being a leader and being a little bit more natural at that, you find the right people and build that team and be able to, kind of complete those projects.
Yeah, that's for the most part, that's how it works. You see, and a lot of people, follow different people, as their leader, but HR people will tell you, oh, the person quits the leader before they quit the job, things like that. And there's probably some truth to it. Not as much now after
Yeah.
COVID and, the current economy, they quit because it's a better dollar sign somewhere. But
Right.
I think there's something to that, and I'm never going to boast, say I'm a great leader. You'd have to ask other people, you willing to follow Greg into the Bernie building or say, no, I'm not doing that with you.
So going back to 15 years ago, I mean, obviously there was some outside influence, I guess, somebody kind of pushing you a little bit to kind of make that jump. But what went into that decision making process to go out on your own and make that leap of faith, like you said, um, to be on your own?
Not near enough. I can tell you that if I knew everything I know now, all the risk I was going to end up taking, all the long nights, all the, stress and everything that goes in between. Well, I don't know if I'd have done it, but I had a really good friend. His name was Neil Heesh. Shout out to Neil. And he installed seamless showers. And had been on his own a while, and I was talking to him about it. And he said, Greg, what's the worst that can happen? You have to go get another job. I was like, well, I guess that's true. So,
Yeah.
he's the one who actually got me out of my own head and out of my own way to do it. And then, the rest of it is just, applied tenacity of, never giving up. Accountants will tell you, oh, this isn't going to work. You're going to go broke in a year. I'm looking at this and that. And you're just like, yeah. If you listen to that, you'll get so twisted up, you'll never succeed. You just have to
Yep.
truly, truly believe in yourself. And it took me a long time to get to that the decision that you're about to make, what you feel is right, and believe in yourself that you're making the right decision and not listen to a lot of people that are trying to tell you it won't work.
Right.
That was my big leap of faith. Would I do it again? Man, I don't know. I advise people to do it again all the time. I've got 2 or 3 smaller companies that I've mentored their owner who used to work here and said, hey, I want to have my own. Can you tell me how to do it? And I try to give them the best wisdom as I can, but I usually start that conversation with brace yourself. When you own your own business, the highs are high and the lows are low, and you own everything in between.
All of it. Yep.
So be prepared to stress out on the lows and enjoy the highs, but don't get too comfortable because it's probably going to go back down.
Yep. Yeah. No, for sure. So from an operations standpoint, do you guys hire employees? I would imagine coast to coast, you're probably more of a construction management type structure.
By definition, yes, we would be more construction management. We have superintendents, traveling superintendents, construction gypsies, as I call them. They'll go anywhere. They like to live on per diem and, get expense accounts. And we manage the project management and all the accounting and everything out of our central office here in Texas. And we send people out. We hire subcontractors locally for the most part. Some accounts that are smaller, I have some crews that travel from spot to spot and take care of, not plumbing or electrical or anything like that, but setting cabinets and hanging doors and, little stuff like that. And our superintendents are a little bit, they work some too. I wouldn't call them working superintendents. Anything past a cordless drill, paint roller, and a caulk gun, you probably need to find a sub to do, but I like them to have at least those 3 things.
Yeah. And so are you guys, from a hiring sub standpoint, I mean, being coast to coast and being so kind of all over the place, what does that vetting process look like for you? How are you guys, or who's responsible, and what does that process look like when you're looking to bring somebody on as a sub?
As far as subcontractors, 3 years ago, I'd have given you an answer of, oh, we seek them out and we check them and we do everything we can to make sure they're stable and qualified. And now the sub market is stretched so thin. It's the thinnest I've seen it in, 25 plus years of, you're lucky just to get a price from a subcontractor. And then you're you're managing them, micromanaging them to get them to perform and take care of the work. The submarket is so very weak right now. And I'm not sure if it's financial or labor or supply chain, but all of them have an issue. If you're a good friend of mine's a mechanical subcontractor, and his backlog is bigger than it's ever been in his 30 years having that company. I guess, but it's not because of a good thing. It's only because I can't get the units to put on the buildings to get actually the jobs going. So
Right.
It's not like I have a bunch of work waiting on me. I've got a bunch of work backed up because I can't actually get to it. And then if you go to the real labor heavy ones, concrete and things like that, they just can't find people to keep up with it. And it's harder now to do construction than I've ever seen it. And it's not any more complicated. It's not any more technical than it's ever been, but it's just the shortages of labor and materials that are just totally straining every project that I'm seeing out there. And I'll give you some examples. We finished 3 projects in the last 6 months or so, and there's a shortage of GFCI breakers. For anyone listening that's not in the electrical world, that's ground fault circuit interrupter, I believe is what it stands for. So it goes in wet
kitchen or
conditions.
bathroom, you got to push a little button on.
That's the one. Well, there's breakers that go in restaurants and things, convenience
Yep.
stores where that's internal to the panel. Well, those don't exist. You can't get them. So we have finished 3 projects completely. Everything's ready, but I can't turn it on because I don't have those breakers. And that just lags and drags, and everybody gets stressed and frustrated. But it's just little parts like that. You don't realize that if you don't get it, you cannot finish. And that's happening over and over. And now it's showing up in strange things, running out of glue to put FRP on the walls, just all kinds of stuff, glass and aluminum. And had a client this morning wanted to upgrade their warehouse space with air conditioning and things, but because it's hot this summer. So, well, by the time those units get there, it'll be winter, so you won't have to worry about it because they're about 18 weeks out.
Maybe think about it for next
So,
summer, because you're gonna have to suffer this year. Yeah.
And I tell most people that contact me now, we do design build work as well, and they'll say, "Hey, Greg, I'm thinking about this. We're thinking about this." If you're even thinking about it, you need to find out and I'll give them a list. These 5 things are, because if you even think about it, order them now, because you're not going to have it once you've actually made up your mind. I mean, you can cancel the order and someone else will take it. So you're not a huge risk, but don't wait till you've made up your decision and done your drawings. Go, okay, let's go ahead and order the Vent-A-Hood from Captive Air, because they're about 20 weeks behind. So you won't be happy with it. It really is. And I don't know when it's going to get better. I don't see a resolution on the horizon of people catching up. I don't see raw materials catching up to it. I don't see labor catching up to it for quite a while. And I don't know if this stuff's hung in China or, what it is, but I do know the effects here, and it's not good.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I think the way you catch up is the economy taking a turn for the worse, to the point where, new builds slow down and a lot of that stuff slows down. But that results in, a lot of the smaller businesses closing up and work drying up. But then maybe you catch up. Unfortunately, that might be one of the ways that happens, but not one of the good ones for sure.
Yeah. A recession heals a few problems, but creates others at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. So what led you guys to be so diversified? I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, contractors I've talked to that maybe just specialize in the quick service, or maybe just specialize in the small commercial and the light commercial stuff. But it sounds like you guys have your hands in a little bit of everything. I mean, was that done with intention, or is there any decision-making process there?
Mostly intention. If you do the math on 15 years, that's going to take you back to about 2007, which I don't know how old you are, Mike, but 2007 was not a good year to be
Not a good
starting
year
a
either.
business.
Yep.
So, but I survived it. And we built, at that time, we had 2 clients and they were banks. And we built bank after bank. And that's what we really got on. So when 2007 came around, that market dried up really, really fast. Banks pulled all their money back, because they were in the worst trouble. So I was, so coming out of that, I decided, all right, we're going to diversify in markets, which is when we went into more retail, started adding quick serve restaurants, convenience stores. So, and that was that's been over 10 years that we've done that. So we went into different markets and said, okay, if this market slows down, this market will pick up. Right now, convenience stores is a very active market. Multifamily is a very active market. Retail's not a very active market. So that put us in a great position there. And we also said we're going to position ourselves to where we can move geographically. Now, living in the great state of Texas, we have been insulated well from the last few downturns. My area always keeps going. So a lot of our work is still in Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, but then we're also going to be able to move geographically. If one area of the country gets into a slump, we're able to go work in the other. So I went on a quest and got general contractor's license in every state that was available and took all the tests and, did all that stuff to set that up. And it's really helped us too with our clients as we diversify they'll call and say, hey, Greg, can you go to Arizona? It's like, yes, I can. Can you go to Utah? Sure. And for example, right now we have a project in Blasdale, New York, and another project in Bellevue, Washington, which,
Opposite,
pretty much total opposite sides of the country. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but so, Lawrence, Kansas. So we were able really to capitalize on that, which has given us a lot of stability, as things move around, the economy goes up, down, markets change, Amazon takes over some other some other business.
They're trying to step on insurance right now too. So I feel you.
I know they haven't figured out how to make a burrito or a hamburger yet, deliver it. So I'm still a little safe there.
Well, hey, it sounds like obviously a smart decision, right? Because, and obviously it's paying off, but a lot of the people you're working for are national too, right? Like you said, the banks, the quick serve restaurants, the retail. I mean, they're in the convenience stores. They're all across the country. So if they know that you can go from state to state with them, that gives them a level of comfortability, especially if you're doing a good job for them to, to be able to, and they don't have to find somebody else in that next state. But kind of along with that, it sounds like you did step one as far as finding the licenses and getting licensed and doing all those things. But there's still different, regulations and legislation and code issues and all that kind of stuff from state to state. Is there somebody inside your company that's responsible for, hey, we're going into Washington, let's get updated on these things and make sure that we're, up to par on everything and knowledgeable of all the regulations, and versus going into, Kansas the next week? Is there somebody that kind of takes that for you?
We do. When a project comes in the door, through our BD, and marketing efforts, and as soon as we see the location, then we turn that over and say, okay, check what kind of license they require, check, insurances, and make sure we can work in that state. And we're registered in all the states. So we're pretty comfortable giving it cover, but every so often some state will have some sort of quirk, for working there, and you won't realize it, and it'll catch you off guard. And then even they change quite a bit.
I was going to say, in California, I feel like they change every 6 months.
Right. Yeah. So just because you think you know it, you better check again, because when you get there, they'll go, oh, that's new to me. I didn't know you did that, but they do now. So you have to start working backwards to get into it. But you're right. Most of our clients are corporate clients that are nationwide. So they know a little bit too about where they're going already. So it's not, just point out. Now we do have clients that just send us out there on our own, say, we want this out there. Can you go do that? And then we have to figure it all out. So
right.
That's a little bit more difficult.
So you talked about marketing a little bit. I'd have to imagine a lot of your business is word of mouth, especially in that corporate kind of business. But what are you guys doing from a marketing standpoint, and how are you, I guess, generating new opportunities?
We have an individual he's fully dedicated to that, and we have uh, a process where we identify first what our ideal client looks like: corporate, repeat business, large footprint, all that kind of stuff. So he spends his day searching out those clients, making contact with their real estate department, making contact with their construction department through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through Instagram, so he's pinging them in every direction he can and sending out, seeing if there's connections, anybody know this person, and he generates a lot of those connections, and then he works with them until he gets us qualified and gets us on their list. So that's a lot of how our leads are generated, and he's pretty good at it. We used to go to a lot of trade shows, and that worked, but of course COVID killed
Yeah.
most of those. So in-house, he generates quite a bit of them. But the other part of it, you mentioned referrals, which is also huge to us. We get a lot of referrals because since COVID came through, and now that the job market's so good, a lot of our construction managers on the client side switch jobs and companies all the time. So we're
Yeah.
working with a guy over here at Mod Pizza who's now over here at Voodoo Donut, and he calls us up. He was over here at Wendy's, and he's over here, or convenience store people switch back and forth. So as long as you keep a good relationship and, they like working with you, and you do what you're supposed to do for them, make them look good. One of our fundamental behaviors is make your client look like a hero. Next place they go, say, hey, come with me so we can, make me look good over here. So
I love
that
that.
we get
Yeah, no,
referrals off of that too.
yeah, maybe
Mm.
speak to that a little bit more. I love that mantra of make your client look like a hero. Where did that kind of come from, and what's the impetus behind that, and what does that look like for you guys as a
Uh,
company?
well, we have 23 fundamental behaviors, that,
23.
and we, 20,
Do you
yes,
have a do you
23.
have a do you have a test weekly to see who memorizes all of
No, I don't even have them memorized, and I wrote most of them.
them?
Um, Now, it's a system that we came up with not about 2, 3 years ago, and it's just we wrote them down, and it's okay. If we do these things, we will find ourselves successful. So some of them I borrowed from Stephen Covey. A lot of his stuff is in there because I've read his books over the years, and some are written around individuals that I wanted to do better. So I wrote them around there. But one of them is make your client look like a hero, and we talk about it. And there's answer with completeness, and honor this, and a lot of stuff like that. It's not so much where you're going to find it like on the poster of a dentist appointment, dentist office kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's pretty directed to our type of business. And what we do with it is each staff meeting that we have every 2 weeks, we switch it to the next one. So at the beginning of that meeting, we'll say, all right, here's our new behavior. Talk about it, go around the room a little bit about, what's it mean, give an example of where it worked, give an example where you should have done it. And then if there's ever a meeting of 3 or more Westmoreland Builders employees, you're supposed to start that meeting with whatever the current behavior is.
I love
Kind
that.
of think about it like a prayer before a meal. It's
Right.
the behavior before the meeting, sets the tone, sets the agenda, keeps it
Well, I
top of
love that you're
mind
like,
of where it's going.
yeah, and you're changing it every couple weeks, so you got a new one that's kind of top of mind, and hopefully kind of being ingrained over time, obviously, all
Yeah.
of them.
I've been shocked at how applicable they are. When you go to me
You,
like,
you
that's
wrote them.
perfect
You're
for
not
this
supposed to be
meeting.
shocked.
Well,
You're supposed to say,
maybe
"Yep, this
so.
this worked out absolutely perfectly, exactly as I
That
planned."
is exactly how I planned it. No, I'm not, I wish I could see the future that well, but no, so they work out pretty good, and it helps, and it helps when we correct people. I sent an email
Yeah.
today of, requesting a response. And at the end of it, I put in, please answer in fundamental behavior number 23 form.
That's
And
awesome.
I'll get them. Even they'll
Yeah.
come back to me in
Yeah.
emails from people. Greg, please read fundamental behavior 6 and tell me what you want. Because
That's
they'll
awesome though.
tell you I'm the worst at violating them sometimes, but
Well, but it sounds like
I
you guys
try
have
not
fun with
to.
them and you're really kind of committed to them. And that's the key, right? It doesn't matter what it
Mhm.
is, but from a culture standpoint, you got to just have everybody bought in and kind of committed to that process, whatever it is.
Yeah. When unemployment was different and we had access to more people, we were pretty stringent. Like, if you can't follow these behaviors and you
Yeah.
continually step outside of them, even though, we may love you, you may have a lot of good stuff, but you can't work here.
Yeah.
There's a place for
Yeah.
you out there, but it's not here.
Not here.
Now, right now, we don't have that. Hope my employees don't listen to this for a little bit, but we don't have that luxury right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. You got to
So
be
we
able
have to work a lot harder to maintain the culture right now than we have in the past, because
yeah,
resources
sure.
are so slim.
Very, very true, especially in this industry. Well, it sounds like from a marketing standpoint, you guys got a grinder out there and he's doing awesome, as far as, kind of maintaining relationships for you. But as we're sitting here talking, I actually pulled up your Instagram as well. And it seems like you guys are pretty active there. Is that, I mean, I'd have to imagine that's done with some sort of deliberateness and intention behind being pretty active there. And are you seeing anything? What was the thought process for being as active as you guys are there?
We track where all of our leads come from, and I can't say that we've gotten very many from social media platforms, but our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn all tie together. And every Monday, we have a discussion of what's going to be posted on Wednesday. It's Wednesdays at 9. And we'll go, okay, what job's finishing? Do we get a new client? Is there an achievement? Sometimes if you look on there, you'll see several fundamental behaviors posted on there.
Yep.
We'll post that. That's usually the first of the month. We use to post one of those. So I can't say that it's worked out that great as far as I can link direct. Hey, saw that post. I'd like to talk to you, but it does get checked just like you did. Once you do meet us, they go back and look and they can see a little bit more of us. And it's, word of mouth and people out there of, I'm a little surprised, I'll run into someone here in town that I've known for a while. Like, man, Greg, you look like you're all over the place. I've been watching your Facebook and, you're doing this. So it helps, quite a bit. I'm hoping it attracts, helps employees. I think they look at it some, or new
Yep.
hires or prospective new hires at least, and go back and look at it. So it promotes things, is it a direct? Can I get a lot of direct positives to it? A link A to B, not as much, but I like to think that it's out there and it's, helping in other ways that we can't measure as well.
Yeah, and that's the perfect. I think that's the perfect mindset, right?
I think we
I
froze
mean,
up a little bit, but
they're
I'm still with you.
contractors. I think want to link so
LinkedIn has
often
been one of
the
our
the
better ones.
investment to the return
That
on
that really
investment. But I think with
has
social
gone
media,
on. A lot
it's
of
one of those
construction
things
people
where
check us out on
you
LinkedIn.
really, yeah, it's one of those things where you just really, I mean, it's more of a branding thing than a marketing thing, right? If you think of them as two
Yeah.
different buckets, where marketing is supposed to bring you direct, response and business, whereas branding is more just, hey, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's why we do it, here's why we love doing it, and all those different things about, kind of putting your name out there and making sure that you are, seen by people and if nothing else, like you said, I think it does help quite a bit from a hiring standpoint, right? Because there
Mhm.
is a generation of people that you're probably looking to hire right now, right inside that window, that they live on Instagram, right? They live on social media and being out there, being seen and putting that stuff out there can really help you, I think.
It does. Facebook, my mother, sister, and aunt will always like and share,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
nice
Yep.
when we post something. LinkedIn, uh, you know, real estate people and construction managers and, directors of construction at corporate that I want to talk to, they look at LinkedIn. So
Right.
yeah, it's two different avenues out there.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, no, but it's good kind of being everywhere, right? Kind of catching everything and doing it with intention, I think is important too, right? I mean, there are plenty of contractors that are on the platforms, which I applaud them, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5, 6 years ago, this was an afterthought for contractors and the construction industry. So the fact that more and more are getting into it, I love. But if step one is just being on the platform, step two is doing it with intention and being aware enough that it has to be done pretty regularly, and you're not going to get phone calls and say, "Hey, I just saw your post, come do this $6 million job for me," right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
more that when you do meet that, when your marketing guy brings in that new relationship and they say, "Hey, yeah, we'd love for you to come take a look at this or bid this or talk to us about doing this job," they've probably already checked all your social media, and that's the reason why you're getting that phone call or maybe helped set that meeting because they've seen what you've done
Yeah,
and how you do it.
I think so. 5 years ago or so, that was what your website was supposed to do.
Right.
You got to have a great website and it's got to impress and this and that. And really, we monitor the metrics around our website, the analytics that it provides, and people go and get phone number and address,
Yep.
from the website. They get real basics. They don't go to it and really want to know about your company, off the website. I think people expect it to move so much more quickly now than it ever has, that, they're not going to go click through a website. They want to see a post pop up on their feed, and take it from there. So the next phase really in that is what we want to do is we're trying to move to where we're content experts, instead of just posting, "Hey, look at us," a nice touch, which everyone likes and will continue to do, but to where there's actual usable information about,
Yep.
like we talked about, you need to order your rooftop units ahead, and here's an article to read, and here's, to where it really gets to be more of a content and dialogue, expert on some stuff. And I think that's our next phase on those platforms, but
Yeah.
it takes a lot
Be
of
able to show
time.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I applaud, the influencers and stuff on social media. Cause like, man, how in the world do you have that much time to put content out there and do this? And I'm going to say even Mike, a podcast, I'd love to do something like this because I love podcasts. I probably listen to 10 plus a week, on different things. So, but I can't imagine finding content over and over to keep one posted, week after week. So that would
It
be
definitely
just
takes
a
an army.
tremendous.
I'm the one man right here, but there are plenty of people behind the scenes that because there's, like you said, there's no way I would be able to edit and clip and post and do all that. I've got definitely a team behind me that helps out with that because, like you said, it is. Yeah, I mean, it could be a full-time job in and of itself. Never mind
Oh,
the job that
absolutely.
actually pays me, right? So, no, this is more the fun part, but yeah, the team is definitely helpful for sure. And I
Mhm.
love that you guys have seen that next step of the content creation, right? Because like you said, that is it, right? There was a time where just being out there and seeing pretty pictures and being in front of people was enough, but I feel like you said, kind of everybody's kind of getting that right now, and everybody's doing that right now. But if you can provide value and show worth and provide a little bit of content, like you said, around what you guys do, that's just that one extra step that makes you a little bit different than everybody else out there. And I love that.
We're hoping it produces more engagements than just
Yep.
clicks. So
Yep.
that's our next phase on where we're going with our social media platforms and, marketing that we go out there. The old school of printing up a threefold pamphlet and handing it out in business cards,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
died.
You're
And
right.
it's
Business
never
cards have
coming
almost
back.
become irrelevant, right? I mean,
Oh, I've got a
it's
box in there that I've had for
yeah,
6 years. I'll never give them
yeah,
out anymore.
yeah.
And I
That's
don't want
crazy.
to, If I hand someone a business card, it's like, oh, okay. But no, we're pretty good about sending a V card with an email, Yeah.
Yep.
So make it
Yep.
very easy to just click, save, and now you're connected forever. So
Yep. No,
yeah,
that's perfect.
you have to be able to change very quickly. I spoke about podcasts a second ago, and a couple of them I've listened to is one of them was talking about COVID and the pandemic and, what 2020 looked like. And one of the conversations was that it accelerated eventual changes that we were going to make
100%.
uh, by 10 years in 1 year.
Yep.
The virtual meetings, the old school sales call, the old conferences and things like that, all switched overnight, and everybody likes it. Working from home, it accelerated that platform a decade
At
overnight.
least.
Now
Yep.
there's people that only work from home. We're trying to develop our remote strategy right now. We have 2 or 3 people that work remotely. They come to the office once a quarter, for things. And we're really working on making that happen. We changed all of our platforms to cloud-based. So you could open up a laptop on the beach and, be semi-productive. I'm not
Yeah.
promoting
Right.
that as remote working just yet, but it is possible. It is a
Well, I've
possibility
I've
in the
found
future.
it's almost those jobs that maybe don't have to happen between 8 to 5, right? Where you can be productive
Mhm.
outside of those hours. You almost become more productive, right? If you're a dedicated employee and you're not just somebody just trying to collect a paycheck, right? You can almost become more productive because if you got a full setup at home, your kids go to bed, it's 9 o'clock, there's nothing on TV, like, you might as well sit at the computer and get a couple hours of work done, right? I mean, my wife does it all the time. We've got a setup right here. I mean, we both do, but I mean, she works probably 2 or 3 hours every night after kids go to bed just because she
Mhm.
can and she wants to get ahead and be productive, and so, if done correctly, and like you said, I mean, I think it sped up and forced people to change way faster than they were comfortable doing. But now you're at the point where everybody's comfortable and it's the new normal. And I think, like you said, it's not going away. It's definitely here to
Yeah.
stay for sure.
I had to change my philosophy on personnel over that time period. And, it used to be, I'm paying for 40 hours of your time. I would like 40 hours of your time. Where now it's, and I tell people as I interview them, like, I'm paying for production and deliverables. And if you do that, at home in a Starbucks or in this office, that's fantastic.
Right.
As long as I keep getting deliverables.
Yep.
Also, if you can do that in 6 hours, I'm so happy for you and I applaud you. That is fantastic. If it takes you 10 hours, I feel bad for you, but I still want the
But it
same
does
deliverables.
still, yep, still need them.
So I had to change that mindset. I'm not trading money for time anymore. I'm trading money for production.
Yeah.
And however that comes in, that's what I've got to be. That's how I
Which
have
is
to
weird,
measure
right?
the
Because,
success of a person.
yeah, because 4 years ago, you would have probably dealt with somebody who was in the office 40 hours a week and maybe not giving you everything that you thought that they could. Right? Like, but they were in the office for 40 hours a week, so you probably would have just dealt with it and found a way to, work around what they were able to do in those 40 hours and maybe push them a little bit. But now it's to the point where, like you said, I mean, just give me what I need, whether that's 2 hours, 6 hours, or 12 hours. We need what we need from you from a production standpoint.
Mhm.
It's
It's
a
different.
crazy mind shift.
My middle son, I have 3 sons. Uh, my middle son and his friends, he's 23, about to be 24. They've graduated in the COVID period, missed their graduation, so came out of a very different, you know, workplace than we were ever used to. So I had a very hard time giving him any kind of wisdom, but they adapted very quickly. And uh, a lot of them just travel around doing whatever they want. They were in Hawaii last week and they were all working, but as long as we have
Yeah,
internet and our laptop, we can get on, do
yeah,
our work, and then go enjoy Hawaii. They've, been to Mexico. One of them lives in Seattle, but his office is in Pittsburgh. And they said, well, you don't have to come to the office. So he moved to where he wanted to live. Now, companies are coming around and saying, okay, now it's time to come to the office. And they're pushing back of, I I don't think so. That's not my
That's not gonna work for me.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's not my journey that I want to go on.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
So what is
it's great.
what is the future? No, go ahead.
And it's great for states like California where you are. Like my oldest son, he works from home here in the Dallas Fort Worth area and for a California company. So they get, employee based on Texas wages and taxes that are much lower than California's and the same level of production. So it really opens up the hiring pool to across the country to so much more, to where instead he lives 30 miles away. He didn't want to drive in. It's like, I can hire someone from anywhere at this point, if it's the right person, and just have them work from where they are. So
We're
there's a
exactly the
great
same.
side to it.
Yeah, we went from 200 or 300 employees when I started about a year ago, and then when they developed that work from home philosophy and that program, we're able to nail it down. I mean, they've since hired all over the country, and I mean now we've got service staff that we never would have had access to before, just because that is the philosophy of the company now. Which, like you said, it's only going to make people stronger as long as you can kind of manage it for sure.
Very true.
So what does the future look like for you guys? Where are you guys headed? I mean, obviously, typically I ask geographically, but you're already everywhere. But are there new verticals you guys are looking to get into? Or
We're
new?
starting out in a multifamily now.
Okay.
We have our first one starting up, and I've got a call on a second one coming up. Apparently there's a shortage in that market. So I'm getting pulled into it through other relationships that go to it. So I think that's probably one of our next moves, is probably multifamily, moving into that a little bit more. Retail is still declining. We don't build a lot of new retail right now, and haven't in a year or so. We remodel some of our big box clients, where when their lease comes up, we'll cut their space in half, put a demising wall up, and so they're reducing. There's work in reducing as the same as there is expanding.
Right.
So
Right.
a little bit of that. So going into those different directions, convenience stores will still be good for a while. Stuff like that, where it expands outward, is what we're going to now. But some of our old stuff, maybe it'll come back one day.
Yeah. Well, I think multifamily is a whole. I mean, getting into anything residential is a whole different animal too. I mean, I know from an insurance standpoint, a completely different nightmare than doing some of the commercial spaces. So should be an adventure either way, right? But like you said, I've heard that as well, that there's a little bit of a shortage there. So there should be plenty of work rather.
There is, and that also plays into the 2-3 story hotels,
Right.
that you see pop up on the side of the road all the time. They're stick frame, so multifamily in that, it's a very different type of contractor. It's not structural steel and, your old school, brick and mortar type stuff. But it's not a home builder. It's it's a little bit different. So it's a very
A little
niche
bit of
that
both.
I think we could do quite a bit in over the next few years, once we get the right team figured out on how to travel around and do it.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Well, Greg, I appreciate it. This has been awesome. And I thank you for your time. But before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to kind of let everybody know where to find you, or how to get a hold of you, or whether it's social media, websites, phone numbers, emails, whatever it is that you're willing to give out, that people can get in touch with you guys.
Well, w-builders.com. That's our website, and everything is on there. So you can find us, then start following us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and keep up with our adventure as we go across the country, trying to build things in different communities and make people's lives a little bit better, our employees and those for the places we build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following just so I can learn all the fundamental behaviors. I want to be an expert on all 23
Well, you
of them
have to
for
wait
sure.
month to month now. I'm not
I
going to roll
I
them
know.
out where you could just read them.
Greg, it's been awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time, and we look forward to following you, and stay safe out there.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir. Yep, have a good one.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you had a good time, be sure to hit that subscribe button to get all the latest episodes. And if you had a really good time, leave a review to let us know what you thought. Until then, go gather some crazy stories on your job sites, and we'll see you next time on So, You Want to Be a Contractor.